Hey friends, Jim here with Science Talk. I want to talk with you briefly. There's a little article that appeared on the online publication Energy Mix, which also includes a Climate News Network. And it's what you see here. 3 oil companies exit the Arctic Wildlife Refuge, or ANWR. Well, and this just happened June 14th. This is good news if it holds. So here's a lovely photograph of the coastal plain. We are looking southward, as this is the Brooks Range right there. Obviously a summertime photo given the lack of snow. And you can see that it's basically tundra. We have a river running through here. Might be the Sag River. But there is still some snow patches left. But it's a wonderful place, and it needs to be protected, quite blunt. So what do we have going on here? 3 major oil companies have canceled plans to drill in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, a sign that fossil fuel exploration is losing ground against United States environmental policy priorities. Development of the 20 million acre area, which is the habitat for polar bears, caribou, waterfowl, Arctic foxes, Arctic wolves, has been imposed by indigenous communities, environmental organizations. Now, they say since 2017. Bollocks. Try 1960. Because there was talk, and towards the end of the Eisenhower administration, of developing that area, and it's been an ongoing battle to protect that area for basically 6 decades. And I'm not going to get into the whole ANWR and the NILCA Acts and all those legislative stuff going on. That's a topic for another time. Biden administration suspended the leases last year, that Trump had approved, saying that the U.S. Interior Department Bureau of Land Management, BLM, did insufficient analysis of drilling impact in the sensitive area. Well, that's correct. Last month, Australia-based Regenerate Alaska, one of the oil companies that acquired land on the pristine refuge, canceled its lease following similar moves by Chevron and Hilcorp. Chevron, that's huge. So really, what's left is BP, Shell. So these exits clearly demonstrate that international companies recognize what we've known all along: drilling in the Arctic Refuge is not worth the economic risk and liability that results, from development of sacred lands without the consent of indigenous people. The Gwich'in Steering Committee said in a statement. This is the Gwich'in, basically the people that utilize this area a lot. Now, the area under contention is Area 1002, also called the Coastal Plain. And you hear politicians, oil execs in the past saying, well, it's just a small little footprint and we're leaving the rest of it alone. Well, first of all, the area that you're choosing is the critical area for caribou, because the caribou need to run right into the ocean to get away from the mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes can drain them of like 2 liters of blood a day. Seriously. They're literally getting sucked dry. So they run into the ocean to get away from them. And then when they get hungry enough, they run back out, eat, and then run back in. Well, where the proposed drilling infrastructure would impede the access of the caribou to go to the ocean, the Arctic Ocean there. Also, there's no infrastructure there as it is now. So you're going to have to build the infrastructure. You're going to have to build the gravel roads. They put it right on the tundra. That degrades the tundra ecosystem. So it's sort of like saying, well, I put this table on the outside on the grass, And my environmental impact is really just where the four little legs impact the ground, never mind the fact that the shadow cast by the table over the ground will kill the vegetation there. I mean, that's the sort of the logic that we're trying to use here. It, the destruction to the ecosystem is simply not worth it. Also, I knew someone when I was working at the Geophysical Institute slash International Arctic Research Center. I knew someone there who was privy to information about a couple of the test bores, the drill holes that were done in the 60s and 70s. And now, granted, this is before directional drilling became, that technology improved. But the consensus was that it was pretty much a dry hole. That the amount of recoverable oil does not warrant the expenditure to go and get it. That's kind of how some of the folks in the oil industry were putting it. That it's basically going to cost them more to go and get the oil than they would in selling the oil. So it was not economically feasible. And my guess is that this is what's driving this decision by these three companies. So there are just two remaining entities holding leases in the area: a real estate investor and the Alaska Industrial Development and Export Authority. And they do not have the financial clout or expertise to develop the region on their own. So the three oil companies' withdrawal makes future drilling in the refuge far less likely. And this Eric Grafe, who is the deputy managing attorney in Earth Justice Alaska Regional Office, said it looks like the oil companies with leases have concluded drilling is unwise after all. Some supporters of new oil and gas drilling are lamenting the setback. AIDEA Executive Director Alan Weitzner told the Post the decision is not surprising given what he termed repeated obstacles from the U.S. government. Well, it's a thing called environmental impact statement, and it's a thing called, climate change, global warming. Said that the companies are likely to turn to oil exploration outside the U.S. instead. Perhaps, but we really should be getting off fossil fuels, plain and simple. Senator Dan Sullivan, Republic of Alaska, not a fan, said government opposition to drilling runs counter to the Biden's administration claims to be doing, quote, all they can to bring down energy prices despite the long time it will take for any new drilling to deliver a finished product. Okay. Well, first of all, Dan Sullivan is a jerk. Okay. He's a Koch brothers stooge. And he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I mean, Biden, and I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Biden, not by any stretch of the imagination, but, I call balls and strikes. He did open up the reserve. He said, with the energy prices, he said, okay, open up the petroleum reserve, allow 2 million barrels per day. He did that. Have you seen that in the news? I'm guessing you probably have not. And as far as, the prices right now, okay, I think oil is about 118 a barrel right about now. And depending on what part of the country you're in, it's, gasoline per gallon is like 5, 6, even $7 in some places. The last time oil was 118 a barrel, gas is $3.59 a gallon. So why is it 5, 6, $7 now? Corporate greed, plain and simple. They took advantage of COVID. And now, because with everyone locked down and shut down, whatever, the demand was less. So that now things are opening up again. They want their profits back. So they're gouging us to recoup the profits they lost during the last couple of years when COVID slowed everything down. It's plain and simple. There are other, regardless of federal policy, other obstacles that make drilling in the region challenging. Okay, lack of opposition, lack of existing infrastructure, which I just alluded to. Thawing, permafrost, not melting. Thawing permafrost from rising Arctic temperature pose risks to oil infrastructure, making going out down the tundra very difficult. Because there's actually a rule in place that when based on the season, when things start to warm up there, you got to get the equipment off the tundra. Basically, you can only be on the tundra when the ground is frozen. Well, we know what planet's warming, so the season or the length of time of the year for where we have warmer conditions and we got at least the seasonal thaw layer of the upper ground, the upper part of the permafrost, starts warming, it gets really boggy and squishy and all that kind of stuff there. They got to be off. They can't be on the tundra those time periods. So the window to even do any work on there is decreasing. And this is something that's happening across the circumpolar north. I've done videos on that talking about how the thawing permafrost is threatening infrastructure of various communities. So that's another factor. Also, 5 major U.S. banks and increasing number of insurance companies are no longer willing to finance Arctic oil businesses. Oil industry analysts say the withdrawal shows fossil companies are increasing their fiscal discipline in face of competition from the renewables sector. So overall, this is welcome news because this is really, in a lot of ways, the last truly wild place on the planet. I mean, you can be flown in by chopper, dropped off there. You won't, and you're literally, a long ways from any signs of civilization. And as it is now, once you get to like the Yukon River and stuff like that, and you travel we call it the Hall Road. It's actually the Jack Dalton Highway. That's the only road that goes up to Prudhoe. And Prudhoe is a disgusting, massive industrial sprawl. It really is. So, let's hope this is the situation. Let's hope that ANWR can be saved from any development. Because the last thing we need to be doing is drilling for more oil. We need to get off fossil fuels. We need to get to renewables. So that now leads me I want to briefly share with you a couple other stories or news that hit that I just came across. One is that Ukraine has agreed to buy liquid natural gas from Quebec as part of their plan to diversify where they get their energies from. Especially now after what Russia's doing to them right now, they probably obviously want nothing to do with Russia. So they're doing that. Another headline I saw state that countries have missed the golden opportunity, and they're right. So what are we getting at? What they're getting at is that we had the COVID, we had the lockdown, and so on. And now we've got this war in Ukraine. What should countries have been doing? Even before February 24 this year when Russia moved in. What they should have been doing was taking the opportunity. You got people staying at home, whatever. Take the opportunity to do a fast track program of developing renewable energy sources. They didn't. And now with the sanctions and some European countries reducing how much oil and gas they get from Russia. So what's the solution? Let's just drill for more oil and gas elsewhere. Really? Very, very short-sighted. And what's like Germany doing? Germany's like saying, well, I guess we'll need to fire up the coal power plant, or maybe we need to fire back up the nuclear plants. So what's the definition of insanity? It's extremely short-sighted. Extremely short-sighted. We really need to just do an all-out intensive program on renewables, plain and simple. Because if you get off fossil fuels, then countries that are basically petrostates, like Saudi Arabia, like Russia, they lose their clout. Because part of the reason for Putin's invasion of Ukraine has nothing to do with the BS rationale he gives. Ukraine is rich in resources. You've got gas, you've got oil, you've got coal, you've got soil. Russia wants those resources. Why is it concentrating on the Donbass? Huge gas deposits have been verified underground, and the Donbass is a major area for growing wheat and other grains. It's all about resources. That's what this is really all about. The world should be developing alternative energies, plain and simple. But otherwise, the 5 to 11 C that I state will happen by 2100 is likely to happen. Very likely to happen if we continue as business as usual. Okay, enough of my editorializing here, but I want to share at least a little bit of decent news with all the BS going on in the world these days. So, until next time, talk soon. Hello folks, this is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.